Okay, everybody, Stephen Key is here, and I've got a very special, famous inventor that's going to share all his tricks and strategies of how to commercialize inventions because Woody's been doing this for how many years?
Over 40.
Well, thank you very much for coming on InventRightTV, Woody. In fact, today is National Inventors Day. I have to make that announcement.
That's
So
cool. I didn't know that.
it's perfect timing. Okay. Let's get down to it. I wrote an article recently. It was in Forbes because you've got something truly amazing. It's called a bolo wrap. And James is going to put a video up so people can see exactly what you have invented. It's brilliant. So thank you very much for helping everybody, because that's what you do as an inventor, right?
Well, you try. If you got your heart in the right place, you try.
So how many years have you been inventing products, Woody?
About 40 years.
And how did you get into it at the very beginning? Were you always creative as a child, or how did you step into this world of inventing?
Well, back when I was a kid, I was born in, I won't say the year, but many years ago. We had vacuum tube radios, and we got a radio for Christmas one year. And the first thing I did before the day was over, I took it apart to see what made it work. I pulled the tubes out and I shorted out the selenium rectifier, and it put out green smoke. And so that kind of hooked me on seeing how things work and making new ideas.
Okay. So, are you dyslexic at all? I mean, a lot of inventors have issues with sounds and words and language.
Not at all, not a
Okay.
bit.
So you're one of the lucky ones. So,
Yeah, lucky. I am
okay.
left-handed.
Oh, okay. Oh, not so bad. But what our audience really wants to know, because a lot of people, when they're first starting out, they don't know what to do, Woody. How did you know what to do when you came up with an invention? How did you know how to commercialize it when you first started out?
Well, first thing is I had a really good patent lawyer.
Okay.
I lived in Seattle, and in the top of the tallest building in Seattle, I had this patent lawyer who, by the way, was killed in an airplane crash of a 737 shortly after I hired him. But back in those days, you could get a full patent for about 800 bucks. Now it's what, 20, 30,000 or more to get a full-blown patent.
Yeah.
So you got to be a little bit sure before you spend that kind of money that you've got something.
Well, how were you sure? I mean, a lot of inventors have this big idea or even any idea, and they're not quite sure about it, but they're spending that $20,000. How do you know?
You expose it to friends
Okay.
or people that'll be honest with you. I've had a few ideas that were duds,
Okay.
and I abandoned them quite quickly because not everything you think of is brilliant and wonderful. But I've been really lucky. I've had probably 10 or 12 inventions out of my 100. And when I say 100 patents, you might have 20 or 30 patents on one invention.
Got it.
But I've had a whole bunch of them that have really made some serious money.
Okay.
The flashback, which is sold by Jabra, they sell well over $100 million worth of that product every year.
Okay.
And proud to say I've got the first 9 patents on that product.
Wow.
And I had a girl that worked for me who's pretty smart, and she thought I was too slow, and it was because we didn't have a lot of money. And so she approached me one day and said, "Would you be willing to sell this?" And I said, "Sure, for the right amount of money." And so she lined me up with 2 of her friends, one of which lived in La Jolla, and I live in the San Diego area. And we took down our prototype, and she gave a little introduction, and I was happy with what they thought. And they said, "We'll make you an offer right now." And they made me an offer for multi-millions of dollars. I said, "We'll take it." Because
So,
I had something else I wanted to do, some other invention I wanted to work on.
okay.
And so knowing when to let go and when to hold them and when to fold them is pretty smart.
Because most inventors, sometimes you're going to have the big hits and sometimes you're not. Is that right? How do you know if you've got a big hit, Woody? How do you know?
If you've got real true friends, they'll tell you. And if you're married, your wife will tell you. My wife, bless her heart, has said to me many times, "You're not the smartest person I know, but you sure as heck are lucky."
Yeah,
So
wives
I
have
said, "I'll take luck any day."
yeah, wives have a tendency to tell you the truth pretty quick, don't they?
That's good. Yeah.
Has anybody ever given you bad advice that you said you showed it to someone and you took their advice, they say, don't go forward. And later you see it on the market and go, why did I listen to that person?
Actually, I've been really lucky. I've never had anybody tell me not to do it.
Okay.
Maybe I'm a good salesman, I don't know, but I get people all excited and they say, I'll give you an example. On the bowler wrap, I have a neighbor that lives about 300 yards away, and he's got a very good business. It's a labor intensive business. He came into my lab one day here in Poway, and he said, "What the heck are you working on?" And I showed him. He says, "I'll put $250,000 on that right now." I said, "Oh my gosh." And he did, in cash.
Okay.
So when you've got a little bit of a track record of having some success, it helps immensely.
Okay.
So,
Woody, I want to ask you about the fear of someone stealing your idea. Because I know there's a lot of inventors, and I don't know where that fear has come from, but they're afraid that if they show it to too many people, people are going to steal it. Are you fearful?
not at all. In fact, I have to tell you a funny story. Someone sent me an email on a guy that had an invention that I thought looked pretty good. And I got the guy's phone number and I called him up, and his wife was in the background. And she kept saying, "Ralph, don't tell that guy too much." And I said, "Do you have an issued patent?" And he said, "Yes." But he says, "I still am afraid to show it to anybody because they still might steal it." And so that's silly. That's what patents are for.
Okay. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, look, the patent system has been kind of weakened lately. The pendulum has swung one way. Do you still think there's value in patents?
Oh, absolutely. They've made a lot of changes. My first patents, when you filed, you had a lot of time to get it all issued. But from the time it issued, you got 17 years. Well, a number of years back, the patent office changed that. The day you file starts a 20-year clock.
Okay.
So that kind of lights a little bonfire across your butt and tells you to hurry up and find out. But they also instigated a thing called a provisional. Provisional patents are wonderful.
All right.
They're much less expensive to file. They only last for a year. But right up until the last day, you can start that clock ticking of 20 years,
Okay.
from a real filing. And practically everything I file nowadays is a provisional.
Got it. Good advice. So let's say you come across, you've got a big idea. You talked about filing multiple patents. You build a wall around it. Woody, is that your strategy to keep people at bay?
Yes, I first come up with a good idea and try to refine it quickly. But very shortly on the heels of that, I'll file a bunch of other patents with different ways to do it that will probably work,
Okay.
but won't be as efficient or as handy to hold or as
Right.
inexpensive to make. But that's the way you protect people from trying to steal it. The other thing is, if somebody makes you a serious offer to buy one of your inventions, sell it.
Okay.
Go on to the next one.
Go on to the next one.
And that's why I've probably got so many patents, is
Okay.
they're floating around in the air. I've said this at many times I've given speeches, that there's almost 11 million patents filed right now, issued. And I truly do not think anything has been invented yet. I think we're just on the curve of the hockey stick, and the great inventions are way ahead of us. I got so many inventions in my head, I can't even keep up with them.
So you're an idea factory. How do you come up with so many inventions?
You know what? It's about 2 or 3 in the morning when they pop in my head. I go to bed fairly early, 8:30, and about 2 or 3 in the morning, every morning I wake up and I jot them down on a piece of paper so I don't forget them.
All right.
And I think my best invention is coming next.
Hmm. Hmm. If you were going to give any advice for any would-be inventor that's just starting out, what would it be?
Who would the advice be
Yeah,
to?
what would you tell someone that's just starting out that says, look, I want to be an inventor and I want to be a full-time inventor just like Woody. What would you tell them to do?
First thing, if you've got an idea, which is what probably prompts that, we have this wonderful thing called the internet. Go online and see if it's already there.
All right.
And practically, I had a lady that worked for me once, sweet little old lady with a foreign accent. And she came in my office. I was the president of the company. And she said, I have an idea for a great invention. And it's a box that holds a tape with all these stickers on them that you can stick on a product before you ship it out. And she says, I think you could sell 1 million of those. And I said, are you an internet user? And she says, not too much. And I said, let me show you something. I went online and there's about 50 companies that made them. And she says, oh my goodness. So first thing, that's even better than a search.
Okay.
You search through the patent office for a few $100s to really find out if it's out there in the pile. But you can look online. There's websites. There's 3 or 4 really good websites that have every patent that is ever issued. Plus, just go on Amazon and see if you can buy something that's like what you have. Amazon carries everything. I've never found a product that I can't find on Amazon. It's amazing.
So do a very good Google search. Make sure your product is new and novel.
Yes.
Make sure that maybe do a prior art search to make sure that there's maybe some other patents out there that might stop you from getting a patent. That's a good idea.
Yes.
How
And there's over 30 patents on the common zipper for zipping up your shirt or your fly. And so there is room for other approaches to doing something.
All right.
And if it's substantially different, they'll give you a patent on it.
Okay.
And so you got to, at some point early on, take a flyer. And often a patent lawyer, if you've called them cold, will give you a half hour for free.
Okay.
So you can expose your invention for free. And of course, there are patent lawyers that are just as crazy as some inventors. And they'll say, sure, that's a great idea. And I'll tell you something to steer clear of.
Okay.
These companies that are on TV that promote your patent for you.
Okay.
They promote you for free for a few minutes, maybe a week or 2 or a month. And then they, for $10,000, they'll put it in front of 1,000 companies. That doesn't work.
Does not work.
Doesn't work. It's a waste of time. The patent office has actually issued a bulletin down through the years warning people to beware of those kind of companies.
Okay.
So I've never used one of those ever.
Okay. Well, Woody, thank you very much. I think, let's see if I have one more question. So if you're just starting out, educate yourself, make sure you have a new and novel product, learn about provisional patent applications, maybe find a patent attorney that's inventor friendly, that's got your best interest. Build a prototype, proof of concept. I know you've talked a lot about that before because you're going to make a lot of changes, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Product that I'm just completing, which is our silent bowler wrap. I got the idea instantly, right after I came up with the original idea, but I've worked on that for more than a year.
All right.
And this very day, we've found the way to perfect it and get enough speed out of it that it'll consistently wrap, and it's totally silent.
So I think the big takeaway for me is from this talk is that innovation doesn't stop, that you got to keep innovating, keep at it. And even if you come up with a great idea, there's probably going to be a change. So be part of it, stay on top of it, be ahead of the next guy. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's very important dispatch in how fast you file it.
Okay.
Get a provisional filed because ideas are in the air, I think. Everybody thinks of them. I've been lucky in getting them. In fact, I have a lot of kids. I have 7 boys and a couple of girls. And a couple of my boys, all my boys are smarter than me, but they've said, that's the dumbest idea I ever heard of. One of my favorite sons, who's a genius, told me that the bola was a stupid idea. He said, you have no idea how tough that's going to be. You won't be able to make it small enough. And I did. It's almost
Well,
as small as a cell phone.
it takes work, doesn't it, Woody?
Oh, yeah. It's never free. A lot of work.
All right. Woody, thank you very much for coming on InventRight TV and sharing your wisdom over 40 years.
Yeah.
And I want to congratulate you on the Bolo wrap. Great. I love it. And I think it's really going to save a lot of lives. So
It
congratulations.
has already, and it will more. I'm totally sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Woody.
Well, I'm so happy to quickly thank you for the early article and to figure out how I could get a hold of you to thank you. So I'm thanking you now in person.
No, the pleasure was all mine. And I know our community, we'll put a link down below so people can actually read that again.
Yes.
Information you provided was spot on and everybody loves it. You're helping the next generation of inventors do a better job.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Thank you, Woody.
My pleasure. My pleasure.